we'll continue this here. Did notice the time change yesterday as people flocking the stream an hour early? Yeah. No, there's a stream coming after mine at 1 p.m. as well. So, and I believe that's Edmund. It's Fantasy General, I believe, is coming up after me. And I believe it's Edmund. I haven't talked to him. I know he's streamed it in the past, but that's just a guess on my part. So we have that as well. Okay. And let's see how this continues in here. I, of course, want to come in and crush the artillery. I just don't know that I should. But here, okay, that would be... Hey, thanks for the cheer for Air Oakenshields here. Great, very great. Yeah, it was just in a detachment attacking a full division, so that's where that one didn't go quite. So ooh, that wasn't good. That's not going to be good either. Okay, so we'll leave it at that. These guys need to be reinforced. They were pounded heavily with artillery last. Turn this way, the morale is way down. So that gets them a bit more up to strength there. Now, I've been taking this, quite honestly, a very slow approach, and it's worked out for the most part. Now, do we attack here or do we attack here? Let's take a look. I want to see the railways. If we take this out, we've cut them off, but we can't. Yeah, we've cut them off. So let's see what we can do with a lot of artillery pounding. Just got 4 rounds, but still. Okay, that is going to hit them hard. They fell back, right. Okay. They're going to come here and they're going to dig in. Or if the trenches from what they were. They're going to come down here and attack to fully kill off this unit. Okay, now functionally they are cut off. We're going to make sure just they don't come up and attack our artillery. Now supply. Okay, got to really move along the railways. I think what we want to do here is, well, didn't quite get to there with that maneuver. Move them to lock them in. I just thought it might be bouncing into somebody there. Okay, well. Now up here we have these guys. These guys have been pounded. We just took that. So we really, the Austrians just are not up to directly attacking the French. So we are getting near to giving the AI its turn. Yeah, we're just gonna reinforce. Now here though, okay, again, supply. So if we push up to there, it looks like we'll be able to maintain some level of supply. We're going to entrench. Think in that pattern there. Do I push? Do I push, guys? No, it's going to be too far. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. We want to take that down. Next turn. With this, I've really learned to advance and dig in after advancing. So we've got to there. We want to get this town next along our path of advance. Now here, see, we're on the back side of him there. We've got 4 rounds here. Have you struck? Yeah, you've done your strike. You have not. Okay. Well, now let's save the rounds for the future. Yes, as I thought, we could probably take them out. Just fine with that. There we go. Now next turn we'll probably push from here. Like I said, I think I want to try to recon Paris, so we'll move. We already have him, he's moving down here. Okay, that's good. Bring him down this way. And we need to have escorts for him or he will get shot out of the sky at this point of the game, it seems like. Let's put him on railways. Get down there. Move up, dig in. won't be able to dig in because he's attacked this turn, so I'm not going to move him into contact. Just don't know how worth it is to push there at the moment. I'm mainly going to focus pushing on up here next turn. You come to a railhead. There we go. Now I have an interesting thing for the chat here. Question. Would it have been better, not for the Germans to like conquer everybody, but would it have been better for them to, if you will, whether you want to call it win World War I or have enough victories, say by 1916 or something, that they could then do a reasonable negotiated peace, being able to like, hey, we'll withdraw out of Belgium and things like that. Would that have been better for the world? Would it have been better for the world had Germany won World War I? I'm honestly asking that. Okay, we have. Oh, you moved. That's right, you moved up. A lot of these guys moved earlier. Okay, what do you think about the idea of if it would have been better for the world in history? Don't think there's anything left to purchase. No, I didn't know if there was any losses. Enter. Morale is boosted by getting Soissons. Capture Rem. Yes. French morale is collapsing. Hungry German soldiers plunder Soissons looking for food. Okay. Okay. And the Entente launches an offensive at Salonika, down in Greece. Okay, we got 1,000 more MPP coming in for Germany, and a bit more. England would never accept such a peace, and the war will drag on for 30 years. Well, I don't know, because if France and Russia are leaving the war, would Britain have tried a, Napoleon's strategy? Fighting Napoleon's strategy, constantly staying at war. Well, did have the peace of Amiens, but otherwise staying at war for the duration, but just mostly, staying offshore in their fleets. So I don't know that they would have refused to have be the only holdout. They would stick around. I could readily see that they would stick around in the war so long as they had continental allies. But unlike the Napoleonic Wars, Britain in the first couple of years took massive levels of casualties in the army. And that's got to affect British home morale. He's trying to break out. He's been cut off. Attacking the detachment in the rear. Wow, they're actually moving. Britain is moving more troops into the Calais pocket instead of trying to get them out. I was thinking I was going to have to rush the ports to keep them from evacuating. And unlike the Napoleonic Wars, where, yeah, for like 30 years the war drug on, you do have, whether it's Zeppelin bombing or early aircraft, would be able to bomb Britain. So Britain's homeland would be struck at. And yeah, if you're projecting out 30 years, you could have a lot of technical developments. So maybe Britain could get aircraft, eventually to bomb Germany in retaliation. So yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thought, that's for sure. Okay, I sometimes forget to reinforce him, because here we're just holding these guys. Right. Okay, come up here. That tank unit's getting a bit weak. Okay, so there's a division there. It has a morale of 59%. Damn, didn't take him out. Oh boy. That was not the preferred outcome. Okay, well, they shattered now. Now down here. Let's use the 2 rounds to soften them up some, or a lot. Hey Van Bishop, how you doing? Just asked the chat and didn't get a whole lot of reply back, but I was wondering, maybe you have I'm sure you have a thought on this. Would it have been better? Ooh, they retreated. Had Germany, say in 1916, had enough of victories, a bit more than they did, that they would have essentially had won the First World War and were able to. Okay, we're a bit weaker here. But, ooh, we can hit. Okay, and then be able to negotiate a peace with France, Britain, and whoever else out there. Would the world have been better off for it? Because you wouldn't have had a Hitler. At least, I don't think you would have. Well, let's swap. No, that doesn't achieve the goal. Okay, you fall back. You come back. Hey, Ulrich Blau, how you doing? Okay, no, we're not going to move into there. We're going to keep in our holding pattern here. Okay, we have 5 shells and a detachment there. Remember, Germany had allies too. Austria, Ottomans. Absolutely, Ottomans wanted Egypt back. Yeah, that's very true, but I don't know that the Ottomans have anything to say in that, because if you didn't know, the Ottomans do not make their own guns, their own rifles, let alone their artillery or anything else. They have to buy them from either the Germans or the Austrians, if is to have a distinction there between the two. Yeah, you move up and you entrench. So the Ottomans cannot, in my opinion, continue the war on their own without massive. Yeah. Ooh, that's tempting. We're going to attempt it. And so, yeah, you wouldn't have had Hitler. And especially if you did it in 1916, won enough battlefield victories that you could impose some sort of peace on the Russian Empire, you could still have the Tsar. Now, maybe it would be a reformed Tsar without, so you wouldn't have had well, you might still have a Bolshevik revolution, but maybe you have the whites winning whatever civil war. So you wouldn't have the Soviet Union. See, it's not that I'm advocating or thinking. I'm not advocating anything. I'm just quite honestly wondering aloud, and I've wondered this before, playing a lot of the World War I games. Would it have been better for the overall world? And yeah, Austrians wanted Serbia, but the French weren't fighting for the Serbs. They were fighting because they were in alliance with the Russians, and the Russians were at war with Germany, so that's why they were fighting. And so, yeah, now the Russians were fighting over Serbia, but if the Russians are defeated, I don't think the Britons are going to, fight for the Serbs, or the French are going to fight for the Serbs. I think if they could just get a reasonable negotiated settlement, they probably, this is presuming with one means or another, Germany has crushed enough armies that it doesn't look like, it looks like, well, we can maybe defend, Paris and whatnot, or something like that, but we have no real chance of pushing the Hun back, or whatever sort of this idea that there's still, France still left around significantly, but they know they're not going to win. And it's clear enough, and it may be clear enough to the French populace that they aren't going to support fruitless war kind of thing. And so they set up a negotiated peace. I think that the stronger argument, if there was no war at all. Oh, well, okay, yeah, if there was no war at all, absolutely. I'm not going to argue that not having a war that kills millions of people wouldn't be a good thing, that is okay. He can recon bomb. Can they bomb? No. Okay, so we're going to start moving some of our air down here, so to keep it on the rail lines. So if I want to strategically redeploy it, I can. But we can strike here. That gets them reconnaissance. Hey, Scooter. Probably socialism, and therefore National Socialism, wouldn't have developed in Germany. Who knows? Also, let's not forget the turmoil that led to World War II was only partially due to the results of World War, but also consequences of worldwide economic crisis. Yeah, okay, but the crisis that was happening, at least a lot of the crisis was dealing with. Now, of course, you may have it on the opposite hand if you had war reparations that Germany demanded or something, but it was happening because of war reparations that Germany had to pay back, and to get the money to pay for it, they borrowed it from the United States. The United States wanted to loan Germany the money because France, Britain, and other nations owed the United States money, or companies in the United States, war debt kind of thing. So they wanted to keep the whole economic situation flowing, and eventually, because of hyperinflation, situations in America, and several things, but World War I was definitely, or the aftermath of World War I is definitely a factor in that economic crisis. So you have that going as well. Okay, hold chat. Okay, yeah, allow. I will allow that. I believe if Germany had won World War, it would be a French Hitler, and the same thing would happen. Okay, well, you might have had a French Hitler because France is a republic. And see, here's the thing, because you I'm not saying likely, because I think Hitler's rise and the phenomenon of Hitler's rise is due to the loss of World War One entirely. But where you had, because the Allies demanded the Kaiser be removed in Germany, you have the ability to Hitler to do what he did, where otherwise you would have had, at most, in my opinion, whether you would have had Hitler at all is another question, but at most you would have had a Mussolini, which you remember once things got bad enough, the royal government throws Mussolini out. I think because there was a king in Italy during the whole time of Mussolini's reign, and particularly the army was still rather royalist instead of fascist, Mussolini couldn't count on support from the army for, shall we call it, nuttiness. So, which was a limitation, I would say, on Mussolini. Okay, it looks like we can strike here now. Okay, that looks like it'll be without much pain. Yeah, I figured it would be a little pain. Okay, let's swap him up here and strike. That way he's fresh and can come down here and entrench. There we go. Which will allow these guys, they should be able to come down here and entrench. No, straight down. You're going to come in and entrench. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Resource availability is always the main driver underlying conflicts. World War I draw. Minor German gains wouldn't have changed the situation with the UK, the US, and France still controlled set of worldwide resources. Well, that's a very Marxist view of motivations in history. That's for sure. I disagree that it's resources that are the main driver underlying conflicts. I really do. I'm not saying it isn't a factor, and it isn't a significant factor, but I personally don't buy that. I'm not saying you're wrong, because I don't know, but I just don't quite go that hard in on it as the, big factor, the main factor. Okay, well, I think it's time to, well, let's see. Okay, we don't have any recon bombers in the area, so we need to get pushing here a bit. Presumably if Germany sort of wins the war, they keep their colonies in Africa and such places. Okay, we want to move into here and entrench. That way they can move into the empty trenches, and that way we can move in the artillery for future bombardments to be ready in those 3 locations. See, I think it's... Okay, you still have a strike. I think, again, I don't know, but I think it's things like often religion motivates wars, or maybe a little more broadly might be ideologies, which could be religions. motivate wars. That's just my viewpoint on it. I'm not saying I know for a fact or have done some great study. Well, I have studied warfare, but the mode of control of resources availability and the ways of distributing it may have changed no matter who won World War One. Yeah. Thing is, German and Italian colonies were useless. Yeah, absolutely, they were useless leftovers. So at the time, not a big shift in resource availability. You're right about that. Now, of course, we see that yeah, I don't know. I see where you're coming from. Okay, that would be a devastating blow. We don't have to waste the artillery to attack there. But I would rather take a little bit of... Okay, now... This way they can come in and entrench. So because I see it a lot of... shall we say, conditions and motivations and whatnot being the fear of the communists or and their threat. Do we want to move down here? Yeah, these guys are better at holding than attacking. That's what we're looking at doing down here. So as opposed to the resources that they may or may not hold, that's motivating a lot of the 20th century, including motivating the Germans to vote for Hitler, is fear of the communists. So that's there's definitely, you know, a post-World War I situation just in the idea of, okay, they've moved in, like, wish I'd gotten that town, but oh well. Expected them to. Okay, well, yeah, let's wait a second here. Worth a couple of rounds. And so I just see a lot of death and misery because of the Nazis, because of the communists. That might be unavoidable. That might be. Okay, yeah, well. Yeah, we're not French. Ideology has a lot to do with conflicts in history. Surely war, not a world without socialism, National Socialism is one that, yeah, oh, that would be a, because now you're right, there very well may still be a World War II. And instead of Germany getting revenge for World War One, you might have had a France and Russia arming up for 20 years and getting ready for a pincer move against Germany. So you very well may still have a World War II, whether it's motivated for resources, because presumably in that scenario you would still, Russia would have the great bulk. It may lose Ukraine, it may lose some of Belarus or whatever. It may lose the Baltic states to the Baltic states. Germany may set up because Germany did have a puppet state of Poland sort of set up. I don't know if it would have become whether independent or a more established puppet state, but an actual sort of state, not just an autonomous region or whatever is sort of kind of what it was. Whether it would have grown into that or not. But it would have lost some territory in the West, surely, under this, at least my idea of this scenario. But probably not necessarily things like the Baku oil fields or some of the other mineral resources a bit more central and west or east Russia. So it would still have a lot of that. And yes, Britain would probably still have its empire, and France probably would have had its empire. Germany might have been able to negotiate but maybe the Chinese Revolution would be enough of a problem anyways, but negotiate better access to China or whatever. But yeah, the non-German world, shall we say, or the non-German alliance world, whether you include North and South America in this scenario, of course, America would have never entered the war, and there were a lot of Americans that had very strong German sympathies. So those aren't forgotten, and a lot of Irish in America that had very anti-English sympathies. So you wouldn't necessarily have secured the idea that North and South America would be in the Entente sphere of influence. It very well may be trading with German industry or something like that. So Germany may stay strong with its trading and industry capabilities. The U.S. would not have it industrialized a lot just supplying the Entente with materials, but would not necessarily have industrialized as much as it did. Okay, we're going to, move you to here and not attack, because we're going to entrench. No, that way. We're going to move you up here and entrench. So it definitely could have been a... Their morale really sucks, doesn't it? I should probably swap out another division, but I don't have too many more divisions over here. Okay, hello, unknown. Well, whether it's feudal system or something else, would be a lot of, shall we say, tribalism. Okay, well, I would like artillery to push here, but this is entirely unnecessary to push, just to push. We pushed a little too far and had some problems here. So let's swap these guys out so these guys can entrench. Yeah, I think that's a good. And then these guys can hopefully max reinforce that up there. This is about the only area that France is doing okay with. Oh no, they don't need to be totalitarian, but it can be what we describe as political ideologies. But I was also just ideologies which could be the idea of a religion, a political, ideology, socialism, democracy, monarchy. But I would also say tribalism. My monarch is better than your monarch, so we're going to go to war. And I know sort of Van Bishop's idea of resources. I think also a major motivator is security. And so if do you have defensible borders kind of thing? And so pushing to get defensible borders can be a major thing. Okay, we're going to push out along here and entrench. Well, they can't entrench. Oh well. I want them to be entrenched. Let's get all of these guys back up to what we at least can get them to. Well, fall back to a better supplied spot, maybe. I saw a cartoon recently that all you people who support the rabbit god, prepare to die. I forget the other one was for the deer god or whatever, so it's sort of like that. And it's not, that humans often fight over. Not trying to say one group is better than another or not or whatever, but it just the motivating factors, even if you're talking at a very high level, the political decision. So yeah, it's just Marxism, or no, let me rephrase that. Marxist history has completely infected basically all so much historical studies. And for a guy who got just about all of history's wrong so badly, for motivations and whatnot, for his ideology, believing that you were going to move into a period of the bourgeoisie and middle class industrial elements, and then into Marxist Leninism or Marxism. Of course, Lenin wasn't a factor yet when he was writing, of course, but into Marxism, where in almost every case where there's been a successful Marxist uprising and taking over the government for any length of period of time, has almost always happened in agrarian societies that were either just starting to industrialize or hadn't industrialized at all. So he got that wrong. Very wrong, of course. So socialism in a revolutionary sense seems to happen primarily in agrarian societies. Though it's not like many would mistake the Animal Farm animation for a kid show anyways. Dark cartoon. Yeah, well, there is that, yes. Okay, I wish we killed him. Oh, wait a minute, can we? Looks like we can. Boom. And run back. Pretend be cavalry, not pretend to be cavalry, be cavalry. Yeah, let's swap this out and then they can reinforce. Better to hold the front line with infantry than cavalry, even dug in cavalry. Now here, okay, let's look at supply. Worrying about him. Being all out there on his own, okay. Yeah, I think we'll leave that for the moment. You're more or less aggressive, more or less ideological, more or less beneficial. Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I'm not trying to slam ideologies. I look at a lot. I definitely think effective resources and whatnot can be a major influencer, maybe a primary in particular cases, but are not a major influencer of human, or the primary, or no, they're not a primary influencer of human behavior. I think they are a significant influencer of human behavior, even on the individual basis. Economics is not, in my opinion, the primary maneuver or factor. Yeah, he's vulnerable, and these guys can swap out here. And hopefully, well, maybe once they're weakened. So I do want to put pressure here to make the AI to try to hold out here. So yeah, I don't know. Okay, we wanted to, let's bomb Paris. Okay, there's well, at least an infantry unit there. Okay, they spot out. Okay, so there's an infantry division with I don't know quite what their morale is, but there's an infantry division on all four of their primary objective hexes to completely win this scenario.